Crypto traders expected history to be made last Friday because we know last Friday was the first ever crypto summit hosted in the White House. Everyone expected this to be a turning point in the market with clear regulation finally shared with the crypto market, which should lead to mass adoption. So everyone was expecting a total game-changing policy shift. But when the dust settled, nothing new happened. That's what everyone thought and is thinking right now. They think it was just hype, empty promises, and we saw a brutal sell-off. Why? Because the market reacted as it always does, selling on the news, as we all know, for those of us who have been in crypto for some time. But it's important to look beneath the surface because there's something else far larger brewing. So in this video, we'll get into those details on why the market apparently seemed to fail to deliver. And we'll also talk about the massive shift in regulation that's happening and how banks are now starting to prepare themselves for a move almost no one is talking about. So don't get fooled by the headlines. Don't get fooled and buy into the fear. The real story and real change is starting now. So hello guys, my name is Jessica. I'm so happy you've joined me today. And without further ado, let's get into today's research. Okay, so just quickly, we're taking a look at Bitcoin's price because we know Bitcoin and the crypto market dumped after the news, but this is part of a larger story and narrative. So as of the time of the video, Bitcoin is slightly below 80K, but at this point, who knows? By the time you wake up in the US or wherever you are in the world, chances are Bitcoin might be higher, who knows? In the long run, we know Bitcoin is going up only, so that's all we need to worry about. In the meantime, the price is secondary. Okay, and then if we glance at the crypto market in the altcoins section of the crypto market, you would see on the daily, the market is red. Once again, I don't really care about this in the short term. This does, of course, impact all of our portfolios, mine including. So it's not exciting to look at our wallets right now and see that our holdings are down. But once again, if you're holding good crypto tokens, then we know they're going to go up in value. Why? Because they hold real value. They have real fundamental use, utility. They solve real problems in the world. They have real teams. And so in the long run, this should not be concerning. So we'll keep moving on. Now, if you're holding garbage or tokens that shouldn't even exist, because they were just created as a quick pump and down, then of course, naturally that could be concerning, in which case it may be a good time to consider reallocating your funds, even if it's at a loss. I don't know, it's not financial advice, but reallocate it into real blue chips, real projects, real tokens that have long-term potential founded on fundamentals once again. So things for you to consider, because even if you cash out at a loss, which is not financial advice once again, and you reallocate that money into real blue chips that have real potential, and those tokens are going to run up this bull run for this parabolic phase we're all waiting to kick in, then that small capital, however much it is that you would put in at a loss from other projects, crypto tokens you cash out of, will exponentially run up in value, right? So once again, it's not financial advice. I am finalizing my course, which will be a very, very concise. I saw someone asking in the comments, how to get involved in investing in crypto. And we do know that many are suggesting, and there's conversations happening around this whole crypto summit that happened, which we'll get into in more detail in this video. But there is talks, it's not confirmed, but there is talks and recommendations of there being some form of test that investors can take to invest, in crypto, because it is so volatile and confusing. So anyway, let's keep moving on because I don't want this video to be so long and there's quite a lot to cover. But I'll make it short, guys. And it's a very interesting show, if I can say so myself. So that said, as I always say, and I'm not the only one to say this, but it's important to zoom out. When you're in doubt, zoom out. Take a look at how things are doing on a macro level. And we have here Nick on X sharing with us, and I agree, we live in a bit of a crypto bubble, but we have to remember that the crypto market and Bitcoin is not independent of the macro markets. So that said, we know there's this huge tariffs war going on. And in large part, as we read on the screen here, this is not a crypto crash or correction. That's the correct word to use. This is a market correction or crash, as Nick puts it here. You shouldn't be so worried about it so long as you have your overhead covered and your mortgage is covered and you have savings, which is step one to financial freedom. So as long as you have your basics covered, or hopefully more, then your total sum of current value in your crypto holdings shouldn't be concerning to you if you're once again investing in real crypto tokens that have real value and long-term value for really good reasons, as I said a moment ago, because they're going to go up, right? And the market is alive. It's composed of all of us. So it's very natural in the same way that we breathe in and breathe out, the market does the same thing. It goes up and down like a heartbeat. So normal, overall, very normal. And that's why you have to hedge or protect yourself against these market volatility factors, right? So anyway, as you can see on my screen here, overall, even some of the biggest companies in the world, like Meta or former Facebook, Nvidia, oh my gosh, has been leading the way in the AI sector. Tesla, they're all down, negative 18%, negative 30%, negative 50%. Respectively, right? So if we think about that, the fact that the crypto market is down is not so painful, or it's at least justified, right? It makes sense. It's part of a larger story or narrative, as they say. And there will be an end to the tariffs war. As we know, we saw in my video last week, hopefully you tuned in, you should. Hope so anyway. We know that Trump postponed his tariffs being enforced on Canada and Mexico. It's all part of a larger negotiation. We know he's a deal maker, so this is part of a larger negotiation, which in large part has to do with illegal immigration and the influx of drugs that are coming in through both borders, the Canadian and the Mexican borders. So it will be resolved, guys. Everyone wants to make money. Everyone wants a thriving economy. No one wants their citizens suffering. So it's in everyone's best interest to reach a deal. And we know that Trump ultimately wants to reach a deal. He's a deal maker. So it will be resolved. It's just a matter of being patient and managing your own energy and your own emotions. But let's keep moving forward. And here we're gonna get into the juicy part and the details, which I'm gonna break down in key articles for you. But we know that this last week was huge, and it all culminated in Friday with this giant historic crypto summit in the White House. So let's watch this recap.
Welcome to the first ever White House Digital Asset Summit. Last year, I promised to make America the Bitcoin superpower of the world, and we're taking historic action to deliver on that promise.
Your administration is moving at tech speed. We are going to put U.S. the dominant reserve currency in the world, and we will use stable coins to do that.
Technology is at the foundation of the Trump presidency.
This is truly a historic day, and as a crypto founder, I couldn't be more proud to be part of your administration.
No one in this room could have envisioned this just a couple of years ago. We want to stay at the forefront of everything. This is a big day. Being in the White House is a big deal, and great support. Thank you very much.
All right, so now let us get into the details of what was actually said on Friday. Now, that said, there were some disgruntled people. I may have been part of them, not horribly disgruntled, because it's not shocking, of course, that they would not have disclosed the whole crypto summit. I think that's what we expected and we hoped for, because Trump's administration so far has been quite transparent in letting us in, right? We got to see the whole Zelensky fiasco, which was horrible, and I feel bad for the Ukrainians, but anyway, that's a separate topic. Anyway, they've really let us in. Well, they didn't let us into the whole crypto summit, because we know it was more than 20-some minutes. Because if you go to YouTube, hopefully you tried to watch it over the weekend. I was waiting for it patiently to be aired, but they only show like 20-some minutes, like 21 minutes, I think, of the beginning of the crypto summit. So we know a lot happened after and off cameras. And in large part, I think it's just wise, it's not so simple, and there's a lot of work to be done behind the scenes. So anyway, let's get into some of the details of what was shared. So let's zoom in on it. So this is shared by Reuters, and they zoom in on the conversation on Scott Bessent, who's now the Treasury Secretary. They zoom in on what he said. So this is what he said. So in an interview, Bessent said that, let's read it. He said that seized crypto assets, as I have highlighted on the screen, would go into the reserve first. So that's how they're going to be funding the crypto reserve, because there's the Bitcoin strategic reserve. And as part of it, I guess, there's the crypto reserve. And we ask ourselves, okay, how are they going to fund it? Well, they're going to fund it with what they have seized. And apparently in my extra research, and maybe you saw this as well, so comment below if I didn't say it, if I don't say it exactly right, or if there's more that I'm missing. Apparently there hasn't even been an official audit on all the seized crypto assets. So it'll be interesting to see in the coming weeks or very soon, because we know that the Trump administration is moving very, very fast. As David Sachs said, they're moving at tech speed, right? And tech moves very fast. So we'll see how much Bitcoin and how many other types of crypto tokens the US is actually holding. So that's step one, is they're going to first see what they have seized from, like Silk Road and like other, forms of illicit crypto business that they, through which they were able to acquire crypto. So that's how it's going to start. Next, according to Cointelegraph here, and look at this photo. I don't want to compare it to anything religious, okay? Like I'm a believer, so I don't say this disrespectfully, but what does this photo remind you of? Of the Last Supper, right? It's like a technological sort of Last Supper gathering. But anyway, let's keep moving on. I don't mean any disrespect by that, but like, what does that look like? Anyway, so Cointelegraph, if you want to go dig up this article as well, because it is so important to do your own research, and reading these things don't take so long. You can do it at night or in the morning with your coffee. This is by Cointelegraph, as I said, and they go into more detail on what was said and how it's going to happen. And so once again, here it says that Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said that they were going to use stable coins to ensure that the US dollar remains the global reserve currency of the world, because that's a big, big conversation right now. If you haven't been following my past videos, we know that Trump has also threatened to impose 100% tariffs on the BRICS nations alliance, which is like Saudi, Russia, Brazil, and then was it China, I think, because they're trying to break away from the US dollar. And we know that China has even like recently been trying to negotiate with Saudi to buy oil for the first time using their own yen. So it's on. And so anyway, using stablecoins, which are pegged 1-to-1 to the US dollar, and we know that we have USDT and USDC by Circle, which I also have more news on for you here in a minute, would be a way of securing the US dollar's ongoing dominance. Because as the crypto market grows and as more companies and vendors start accepting crypto as payment, we know that the most widely used and stable are stablecoins like USDT and USDC. And those are pegged to the US dollar. So and they have in their own treasuries often treasury bonds, and they have actual US dollar asset types on the back end securing their digital US dollar, right? So this is a very interesting approach, and there are several bills being discussed right now, which we'll also get into here in a little bit. I believe I have it pulled up, but people are proposing bills, different senators, on how to go about this, because right now is what is being proposed, or what's being accepted anyway, is they're not going to be able to use US tax dollars, which is fair, even though it could be a good idea to do it, but which is fair because the US taxpayer in itself has been like highly abused right now, right? So there's even talks of paying the US taxpayer back. Elon was suggesting this anyway. I don't know how far that got or what the update is there, but hopefully we'll hear back soon. Anyway, as you can see here, this is by Trump. He said, we're going to put a lot of thought into the stablecoin regime. We are going to keep the US dollar the dominant reserve currency in the world, and we'll use stablecoins to do that. So apparently Trump said that he hopes, as you can see right here, he hopes lawmakers will get a comprehensive bill, basically, stablecoin regulatory bill, to him before August. So hopefully it goes much faster than that, much faster, because August is a bit away. But if it does take until August, that's very interesting, because that will end up sort of pumping the market, right? Of course it will. It's great news for crypto, which may keep the bull run going longer or may initiate the parabolic phase of the bull run. Anyway, there's talks of now Bitcoin and the crypto market decoupling or breaking away from its 4-year cycle. So we'll see. These are very, very interesting and historic days in so many regards. But let's keep reading, because there was a bit down here that I wanted to highlight for you. Okay, so here we go. This is what I was saying a moment ago. So over collateralized stable coins. Okay, so it says, so this is a comment right here that I'm reading, references the way USDT and USDC back their digital US dollar. They use, as I have highlighted here, they use short-term US Treasury bills and cash deposits to back their digital fiat tokens and thus drive demand for the US debt instruments, which have been pitched as a way to extend US dominance. So how interesting is that? And apparently, Governor Christopher Waller, I guess, proposed something similar to this back in February, so a month ago. So this is very, very interesting, but I wanted to share with you this following excerpt from another Cointelegraph article that was published back on February 7th that also brings up like a separate point, but let's read it first. Okay, I'm making two separate points here. So here, okay, so it says, in Waller's opinion, good regulation of stable coins only strengthens the US dollar as a reserve currency as it's used in international trade and finance investments. Because apparently, this is how successful this could be. According to Andreessen Horowitz, he found that US dollars make up more than 99% of stablecoin currency shares, with the largest stablecoin by value being Tether. Now, if you've been in crypto for some time, then you would know this. Everyone uses Tether. That's why there's a correlation between every time Tether prints, which is so inflationary, right? Which is just kind of funny because on the back end, it's also pegged and has cash reserves in the US dollar and US Treasury bonds. So it's kind of interesting how it kind of plays into this whole inflationary monetary structure and somehow will be used to secure the US dollar because of this. Anyway, apparently Tether accounts for 80% of stablecoin trading by volume on average. So I'd encourage you to go do some reading on this because this is very, very interesting. Okay, so moving forward, here's the summary of where we're at. And this was shared by Dom on X. And he says, this is the summary of the White House Crypto Summit. So one, and David Sachs also spoke of this earlier last week, they're going to be ending Operation Choke Point 2.0 for the crypto market, which is great because we know that the SEC under Gary Gensler and just the previous administration was literally like trying to choke, like I would say, choke the crypto market. And so this is officially marking the end of Choke Point 2.0. Not only that, but non-Bitcoin crypto will be stockpiled. We're going to get into that here in a second on what that really means. And the US will never again sell its Bitcoin. Now, I don't know how they're going to enforce this, so we'll have to see because the next administration, hopefully by then, understands the value of Bitcoin. But I'm just curious as to how they're going to make sure that the US never sells its Bitcoin again, even if we have new leadership. But anyway, this was the promise. So who knows? We'll see how they enforce that. Next, they are promising to be working on regulation that will bring clarity to stablecoins. And next, apparently a stablecoin bill will be passed ASAP, which is fantastic and so needed. And then next, here, let's watch how David Sachs, who was part of the All In podcast, which is actually this last video or show that they published was really, really good. I'd encourage you to go watch it, especially the last part where David Sachs comes on, because the whole market and people who just don't do their own research or have their own agendas or fear or reasons to be hesitant and distrusting of all of these new laws being passed on crypto. So who knows? We don't know their intentions, but it's really incredible to hear all of the false judgments. People were accusing David Sachs of having his own interests and, profiting from the crypto regulation he was passing. And apparently he sold all of his positions months before he was ever officially appointed to be the crypto and AI czar. And he's actually taking a loss and he's not even being paid for this new role. And anyway, you can go hear all about it in the All In podcast. But anyway, let's listen to how he breaks down the whole part on how crypto will be stockpiled and treated separately from Bitcoin. But what does that mean? So let's take a listen.
We don't know exactly what digital assets the federal government has. I've seen reports that it might have, for example, 50,000 ETH, which is Ethereum. But again, we need to get to the bottom of that. When we figure out exactly what the assets are, we're going to move them into the digital stockpile. The purpose of the stockpile is responsible stewardship. It's a place for safekeeping. It's a centralized, you could say, account under the direction of the Secretary of the Treasury. And the Secretary of the Treasury will figure out how to maximize the value of these holdings. Now, there's a couple of important differences between stockpile and reserve. So one is the reserve, the executive order actually provides that the Secretary of the Treasury will not sell the Bitcoin. Okay. We're prohibited from selling the Bitcoin. There's no such prohibition with respect to the stockpile. If the Secretary of the Treasury decides that it's in the long-term interest of the U.S. to rebalance the portfolio or change the portfolio, the Secretary has the discretion to do that.
Okay, which makes sense because there's a long tail of crypto. We might see something that we don't have the ability to predict the future, and we don't have the staff to sit there and look at these assets every day, like a fund manager would say, "Oh, what do we do with these? What percentage should it be of the overall stockpile, of the overall holdings?" So maybe the decision with Ethereum is, hey, this thing's waning. We just put it into Bitcoin because we know that's the more solid.
It sounds like Scott Bessent, even though I don't remember right now, right off the top of my head, how much experience he has in crypto, but he definitely has a track record as, like a successful portfolio manager, hedge fund manager, or very, very qualified. So anyway, it sounds like he's going to assemble his own team or way of managing like portfolio managers do, like hedge fund managers do. It sounds like the crypto stockpile will be managed efficiently, hopefully, to maximize its earnings. This is all very, very interesting to me on how they'll do it in a way that doesn't play their own US citizens as part of retail, So it's very, very interesting to me. We'll have to see how it plays out, but now you understand more or less. So that's sad. And moving on, apparently, the OCC, which is the Office of the Comptroller of Currency, reaffirmed or stated basically, right, that the crypto asset custody, holding deposits that serve as reserves backing stablecoins, and the use of distributed ledger technology or like blockchain basically, and stablecoins to facilitate permissible payments activities are permissible in the federal banking system. So basically, simplified for you, banks are now allowed to do all these things, to custody crypto and use blockchain, and who knows, maybe they'll use Chainlink. I don't know, because we know Chainlink, the founder, I forget his name right now, he was present also at the crypto summit. And Chainlink is a beast. Oh my God. If you're not holding Chainlink, it's not financial advice, but maybe you should go check it out. Incredible. So now basically banks have the green light to participate and start using crypto, and they don't have to ask for permission anymore. So here you go. I clicked on the article in this post, which I will repost on my Crypto by Joss X account. So if you want to go do your own reading, it's very short, but basically that's what all of this article says, is that now banks have permission to start using crypto, custodying crypto, using blockchain without asking for permission. So this is really huge for mass adoption, guys. So this is how I know, just connecting the dots, and many other crypto analysts and top thought leaders in the crypto space also believe this, that the bull run's not over. It's just happening and it's unfolding in a new way that as we've never seen before. So as you can see here, Jeremy Allaire shares that apparently banks can start using USDC. So we'll see what this all is going to actually look like here shortly. So that's sad. If we couple all of these facts that are happening with the fact that now the global monetary supply is increasing, it's rising, as you can see here on the screen, at the fastest pace that it has in the last 30 months. And we know that Bitcoin always follows global liquidity. So we'll see. And then apparently here by CryptoJack, he, I don't know his source here, but apparently there's a 2.5 month lag behind global liquidity and Bitcoin's price. So I'd encourage you to take a screenshot of this and go do your own research, apparently, but obviously on your own. But this is extremely bullish. So basically this means that all of the banking regulatory bodies, Europe, China, and the US, they're all making more money, basically. They're all printing. So ultimately it's not a good thing because it's inflationary, but when there's more money in the market, people invest into riskier assets once again because their currency is inflating. So they want to preserve their value, and so they take it out of bonds and different country specific assets, and they want to diversify. They want to put it somewhere safer that'll make them more money and protect the value of their money. And so that's when they end up putting it into stuff like Bitcoin and the crypto market. So it's coming, guys. So apparently, according to Quentin here, who's a great source, guys, very great source of research. I get a lot of my research from him, actually. Apparently, we're looking at April pumping. So yeah, we know that the next FOMC meeting is in 9 days. And this is where the Fed will announce what it's doing, if it's going to lower rates. So as of now, we know that I'd encourage you to go watch my last 2 videos, because I explain how this whole tariff situation is setting up market conditions so that the Fed is forced to cut interest rates, because we know the Fed is separate from the US government. So Trump can't tell them to lower rates, but he can create market conditions, which I break down in detail in my last videos, that will provoke the Fed to cut rates. And the announcement of whether they do or don't is in 9 days. So I'd encourage you to track this, put it on your calendar, track it, because the market always reacts on FOMC announcement dates. So here you have it. The next FOMC meeting is on the 19th of March. And of course, people always bet. You're going to see it on all sorts of posts, and it's going to be everywhere, people speculating on whether they will or they won't. The point is, this is always a volatile day, so I would not encourage you to go trade anything on this day, but it will be a big day. And we know that Jerome Powell gave a statement on Friday as well. I was watching it earlier today. I'd encourage you to go find it on YouTube. But he basically said that these tariffs are, affecting the market. He said this in many words. And so it may or may not necessarily make them have to cut rates. He said that in many words. So go watch it yourself, but we know that he speaks cryptically in general. Anyway, guys, that brings me to the end of today's video. I hope you found it insightful and it answered some of your questions regarding market conditions and what's happening. And I'd encourage you to stay plugged in, follow my channel, like and subscribe if you found this valuable. It encourages me to make more content for you. And I'll be back here tomorrow to talk about what's going on next. And let's see how things turn out. But we know the bull run is not over. It's just time to reevaluate where you have your money and make sure that it is in long-term crypto tokens that will do well in the long run. And if anything, at least in Bitcoin. So I'll catch you guys in my video tomorrow. Bye.